It isn't even beef. I'd call it veal tops. Now I understand that there's other language to use, and so I will use that language. Let's talk about abuse. I have a story to tell you, and there is no villain in this story. Everybody's crime here was misunderstanding, and to me that's not a crime. But with that being said, let's rewind and I'll tell you the whole thing. From my perspective, recently I have decided that I feel brave enough to speak about certain experiences because I'm trying to work on this thing called post-traumatic victory. It's like I feel like Michael Scott. I love inside jokes. I hope to be a part of one someday. I tell everybody else, hey, don't let your trauma rule your life. Don't live in fear. You got this. You can do hard things. But I'm sitting here in my house, 24/7, afraid. Sorry. This is why I can't hold down a job, by the way. I can't talk without crying sometimes. I have recently decided that I don't need to cater to other people's reputations anymore because there's certain things that I'd like to be able to help people with that require some level of like transparency about my own experiences. And require is too strong of a term, but I feel like it is an honor for me to be able to be vulnerable if it will help anybody else to feel less alone. And in that, I made a group of people feel alienated, which is never my intent. But it does not mean that that wasn't the impact. I need to get sunscreen, it's like 20 degrees out. There's a trend, and I saw that trend and I was like, this was made for me. I could do 100 of these, and I just might. It got me to do a little bit of reflection as I saw what other people were sharing. I was like, wow, that's horrendous. I'm glad I'm not alone in having experienced the same thing. And then I started thinking about the reasons why I've been prioritizing keeping certain things to myself. And those reasons don't feel valid or legit anymore. So I think I'm finally ready to step out and talk about some of the abuse that I went through and some of the things that like may not be labeled as abuse, but wow, a person could do that? The whole point of this channel is to share, and I have been hiding and trying to slowly come out of hiding. And so this past week I just came bursting out of hiding and I started making videos under that sound, and I was receiving a lot of support from people in my life who had no idea that certain things were happening because I prioritized the reputation of certain people who were doing certain things above my own healing. And now, as it turns out, I have learned that if you suck the poison out of the snake bite and hold it in your mouth, you're still holding on to the poison. And you know what? I have a platform. I'm gonna spit out the poison. Anyway, this is not me justifying anything. This is me explaining my intention. I fully acknowledge that I said some stuff that is harmful and ableist. Oops, I didn't mean to. Within the hashtags of these posts that I've been putting up, I, on the first 2 of them on Instagram, said hashtag narcissistic abuse survivor, I think was the one. There were a couple that I had put in there in regards to narcissistic abuse because what I thought was people who have had similar experiences and who have been told, hey, this is a term that describes what you experienced. They will be able to find these things and feel less alone and help me feel less alone by seeing it. I don't know. Somebody left a comment on one of the videos, the one that was about my mother's remains being disposed of rather than saved for the people they were intended for. I digress. Somebody said, oof, the narc abuse hashtags are a big red flag. I've been here for years, but maybe I'll see myself out. I had no idea their intention. I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, yeah, okay, bye. Get the hell out of here, I guess. Like, what happened to me was real and it really happened. I don't know if I understand what you're talking about. All I know is that this is a term that professionals have told me has happened to me. Enjoy being gone, I guess. In like a 3rd or 4th comment, they explained the term narcissistic abuse demonizes people who are living with narcissistic personality disorder. Oh, sorry, I didn't want, that's not what I meant. I'm not talking about like you or you. How am I I don't know how to say this without crying, and that's embarrassing. Hang on. How am I perceived by the world at large if someone assumes right away that I'm talking about people with a disorder? Why not just explain to me that I hurt your feelings? I didn't want to do that, and not yours. I just mean like you, the royal you, people with NPD. I had somebody explain to me very compassionately in a message. I'm not going to show the message. Narcissistic personality disorder is a disorder. Just because somebody has that disorder doesn't mean that they have no choice but to be abusive. People with autism can be abusive, but we wouldn't call that autistic abuse. Oh! That was the connection that I had to make. That like, yeah, okay, even if I am not personally talking about people with a disorder, when I say narcissistic abuse, what I am saying, I'm saying those words. It makes sense, and I'm not going to use that term anymore. And another thing that is just as true is that there's certain types of abuse that I don't know that I want to explain, but I do desire to be part of a community that is made up of people who have experienced certain types of abuse at the hands of certain types of people who refuse to see how their actions harm others and refuse to change that. I'm gonna start talking a lot more about very specific things that went down because a lot of the stuff I want to do with my life and career requires that level of transparency. And I will do it without an umbrella term. But is there an umbrella term for very broad, multiple types of abuse? I just ask that if you are going to police my captions and hashtags, be there to help me rather than to try to catch me in the middle of something. Because I promise you're not gonna catch me intentionally doing anything other than trying to share my story with the language that I have to describe it. Now I understand that there's other language to use. And so I will use that language. When you know better, you can do better. But if someone's gonna come and kick your door in and say, "F you, you should do better," maybe a crumb of context if you please. Thank you for the opportunity to learn and grow. And now I turn things over to you because that's who matters in this particular situation. What are your thoughts on referring to certain situations as narcissistic abuse? I personally am now of the opinion that it's not a term that I think I need to be using to describe what happened to me, and I can acknowledge that it's scary for me to specify and not have an umbrella term and just list off things. But just because something's scary to me doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing to do. I think the world might be a better place if we all took a chance. If we all took time to understand each other a little more, you know? And I don't want to make anybody feel alienated. It's a legit disorder, and if you're somebody who has that disorder, I do not want to imply that you're an inherently abusive person. Everybody is impacted by their trauma in a different way. Some people develop certain traits that don't need to be demonized, is essentially the gist. There's certain people who absolutely deserve to be demonized, but I won't be using certain language to describe them anymore. And I understand that this is the internet. You're never going to be able to please everybody. Let's all try to get along today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for educating me. And don't forget to be kind to yourself and others today. Did I say that already? I don't know. Thank you to the Turtle Club for keeping this little channel afloat. And if you would like to help me pay for my very expensive autism assessment, you can become a member of the Turtle Club or make a one-time donation on PayPal. I'm not here to ask for money. I'm just here to tell you that I need it. Okay, thank you. Bye.